It wasn't that long ago. I was working in another station here in Las Vegas, and I saw the live shots of the Boston bombing and everything that took place. I grew up in Connecticut. I grew up a big Boston Celtics fan. Spent a lot of time in Boston watching Celtic games, Red Sox games, hour and a half, maybe an hour and a half drive from Boston. And when I saw that live video footage of what was taking place, and I saw them carrying people out of there without limbs, you knew that this was just a horrible, horrible day that we would remember for the rest of our lives. Of course, 3 people died, sadly, but there are so many, dozens and dozens of people that have lost limbs, and their lives have been forever changed. And you want to talk about a punch in the gut. In my personal opinion, anyway, I am for the death penalty. This guy Tsarnaev, of course, we're talking about the younger brother. The older brother, luckily, is no longer alive. The younger brother was convicted and was supposed to receive the death penalty, but now a federal appeals court overturned the death sentence for Dhokar Tsarnaev. It's insane. So I wanted to speak to someone who's suffered through this, and there's plenty of people that have suffered through this. And the lady we have with us on the line right now, her name is Liz Norden, and 2 of her sons have lost limbs in this Boston bombing. And I'm so sorry. I wish, Liz, we could speak to you under better circumstances, but I appreciate you coming on with us. Liz, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We want your voice to be heard here. Now, I can't imagine how angry you are, because when I heard this news going down on Friday that this Tsarnaev animal is still going to be able to remain alive and probably for the rest of his life in jail, but he's not getting the death penalty. I mean, I was upset. I can't imagine what was going through your mind when you heard this news.
I can't just tell you. I was so saddened to hear. I wanted the death penalty. I mean, I don't know if I'm for an eye, but in this particular case, I don't know of any other case that wouldn't warrant the death penalty more than this particular case. So for me, it was personal, but I honestly felt like the scales were just ripped out from underneath me. I knew it was something that could happen, but I didn't expect it to happen. And not having any full warning and having it be told, it was devastating.
I can't imagine how devastating it is for. I mean, 2 of your kids lost limbs, and I'm so sorry what your family has had to go through. This is what I don't understand, Liz. Why even have the death penalty as an option? Isn't this the perfect scenario? Here you have an animal behind bars who openly admitted to terrorism. He was headed to New York, at least they were trying to head to New York, to kill more people. It was a terrorist act. 3 people died. Over 260 people were injured, many of them very serious injuries like your 2 kids. And if we can't even pass the death penalty in a case like this, why is it even on the books?
I feel the same way. I am at a shock. I am shocked for words. I don't know. He stood right up in court, said, make no mistake, I and my brother did this. The defense attorney said he did it. What else would qualify for the death penalty? It's not a case of mistaken identity where it could come back. He admitted to it. He said he could do it. He said he did it. I don't understand. I really and truly, I haven't slept all weekend long. The thought of going to another trial and hoping that there is another trial. I hope there is another trial and this gets brought back before the court.
So, Liz, Liz, the Tsarnaev's lawyers had argued that the intense media coverage had made it impossible for him to have a fair trial in Boston. They also pointed out on social media posts from 2 jurors suggesting they harbored strong opinions even before the 2015 trial started. What do you make of that, what they're saying?
This was world renowned. I could speak for myself as my 2 sons. We had letters from all over the world, Japan, Spain, you name it. We got letters, and people were so wonderful. So I don't know where they could bring it that people don't know about it.
Can you tell? I mean, it might be hard for you to talk about, but that fateful morning when 2 of your kids lost limbs. I mean, can you? Very difficult question to ask because it's hard to convey the pain and the suffering that your family still goes through. But going back to that day, a day that obviously we will all never forget, you will never forget. What did you have to go through that day, and when did you hear that both of your kids were severely injured? I mean, what do you recall from that day?
At 3:05, my son Paul called me from the ambulance and told me that he was hurt real bad and he couldn't find his brother or his girlfriend. There were 6 of them all together that day. 3 of them lost legs, 2 being my son and one of their good friends. And he didn't tell me he lost his leg. He did know. I didn't find out for 6 hours later where my other son was. When I found out that Paul had lost his leg, I firmly believed my older son was dead because we had no idea. They were taken to 2 different hospitals. I kind of find out simultaneously. After that, I learned that Paul lost his leg, that JP, was at a hospital a block away, and he had also lost his leg, and they didn't know if he was going to make it through the night. They had severe burns all over their body. When I tell you it was a living nightmare, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and when I see people that sadly have lost a child or a loved one, I can honestly tell you, I know that feeling, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. It is the worst feeling in the world. And I can tell you my sons are doing fantastic. They never look back. They're 50 surgeries combined, and we still deal with it on an everyday basis. They're dealing with whether their leg fits properly or every fluctuation. It's just, their lives have forever changed.
Liz, Dhokar Tsarnaev was found by a specific SWAT team within the Boston Police Department. There's been a lot of talk about defunding the police. Well, the Boston Police Department has actually just defunded and disbanded that particular SWAT team that actually found Dhokar Tsarnaev. What are your thoughts on that?
I can tell you, the Boston Police Department were unbelievable. They were fantastic, and from day one, from the first minute of getting to the hospital, right up through everything. I mean, I just think that's ridiculous to even think about defunding the police department.
Yep. All right. So let's. I don't want to talk to you about politics. That's not the reason why I wanted you to come on. I actually want to talk to you about what your family has had to go through and the fact that this Tsarnaev animal. It appears as though maybe he won't get the death penalty. So we're talking possibly about a new trial. What have you heard? What do you know? And do you believe that there actually will be another trial? I know you said you want one. I want one as well. What do you think is going to happen here?
I honestly don't know. We have gotten some correspondence from the Attorney General's office. I don't know. I really don't know, and I'm hoping and praying that there is another trial. 280 people got hurt that day. I know, sadly, some people don't want to live through it again, and, I don't either. But my thought is they set out to kill as many Americans as possible that day, not just my 2 sons. My sons were just unlucky that they were there. They set out to kill and maim people, Americans, and it can happen to any one of us, sadly. So if this doesn't set the precedence of having a death penalty, I don't know what would. And I hope and pray that there is a new trial. I will be there, and I will see it to the end. And for the love of my 2 sons,
sure,
I pray he gets the death penalty.
If you're just joining us, and by the way, I agree with you, Liz. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Liz Norden. Her 2 sons lost limbs in the Boston Marathon bombing. Of course, Tsarnaev, they've overturned a death penalty, but she's hoping that there's going to be another trial, and certainly I hope as well. Liz, if you had a chance to, and I don't even know if you'd be willing to do this, but it's a hypothetical, but if you had a chance to sit at a table with Tsarnaev, what would you say to him? What would you ask him? What would you, if you had that opportunity, what would you say to him face to face?
I've thought about this often. I really just want to know why. I don't understand how the human mind, I just, I have so many questions that I'd love to ask him, and unfortunately we'll never be able to ask him, but really just why? Yeah.
And I don't know what he would say. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the movie Patriots Day. I thought it was a pretty good movie as far as just portraying some of the stories of some of the people that have suffered through this whole thing, like members of your family. And when I saw the good police work, but I also saw the suffering and these 2 brothers and what they were able to do, sadly, does it make you think that this could happen anywhere at any time? And for example, when you're out in crowds of people, I mean, I know there's not a lot of that going on now because of a pandemic, but has it made you and your family think every single time you're in a crowd that, hey, this could happen again?
Oh, absolutely. I no longer go to a mall with I have 5 children, 3 boys and 2 daughters, and they're older, of course, but I no longer will go to a mall with any one of my kids because, God forbid, I'm in one store and they're somewhere else in the store, and something happens, I can't get to them, or your thought process, my whole living has changed. I mean, you're able to move on because you have to. But as far as I'm always looking for exits, I'm always, I won't do a lot of things that I would have done prior because of it.
Yeah. Listen, I cannot even begin to say how sorry I am for what your family and what so many other families have gone through. But I'll tell you something, Liz. It sounds like you have some really strong kids, and it sounds like you have a very strong, close-knit family. I'm glad that they're doing okay, and I'm going to be the first one to tell you. I'm sure many others have told you as well, so I shouldn't say the first one. I hope he gets the death penalty. This kid does not deserve to be alive. He doesn't deserve to have 3 meals a day. He deserves to suffer. And if I had it my way, and I know this will never happen in this country, but if I had it my way, he deserved to be stoned to death for what he did. And this excuse that he was the younger brother and he was just, leading from his older brother is bullcrap. It's absolute nonsense. He was old enough to know right from wrong. He was an adult, and he should be treated as such, and he should get the death penalty. And if they're not going to give this animal the death penalty, then don't give any serial killers the death penalty either. Just get rid of it altogether, because it's one or the other, Liz. That's how I feel.
And I feel they're right there with you.
Yeah. Liz, thank you so much for your time. I know this is a very difficult, not an easy thing for you to talk about, but I'm going to tell you something, Liz. If he gets back in a courtroom and he has a trial, we'd love to hear from you again, and we hope he gets what he deserves, which is the death penalty. Liz, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. And before we let you go, I know you have a foundation. I'd like to give you a chance to promote that before we let you go, Liz. Can you talk to me a little bit about your charitable foundation that you got going on so people can hear about it?
Yeah, thank you. We started, it's called A Leg Forever. My 4-year-old granddaughter at the time kept saying, Mimi, they're going to need a leg forever. So that's where that kind of name came from. But we've helped 35 recipients to date with bedside care and take the stress burden off of other families that lost limbs through horrific accidents. So we've been very fortunate with some great support, and the generosity of people has just been wonderful.
Well, Liz, you and your family, you guys are heroes. You really are. You've helped so many people, such a strong family. I wish you and your family the best, and hopefully we'll be able to get you on the line again if there is another trial. Let's hope for that. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Liz, thank you so much for coming on with us. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Liz.
Wow, what a nice lady. What a really nice lady. So here's what I'm going to do, and let me just be clear on this, folks. People want to call me a liberal because I don't like Donald Trump. I have been for capital punishment my entire life.